Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to episode number 2 of Al-Furqán Institute's podcast series called Voices of the Masjid. We're at a different masjid today, and we have a different voice. No, not mine. I'm a little bit sick, so maybe my voice is a little bit different, but we're sitting here with the Imam of Masjid Salaam in Overbaakens, Moulana Riyaad Abrams. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Moulana.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wani puasa, all right?
No, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, shukran jazakallah khair for hosting us at Masjid Salaam, Overbaakens, what was before known as a new masjid. I think those days are long gone.
Right, no, alhamdulillah, I think probably close to 20 years already now, alhamdulillah.
Oh, close to 20 years. Well, initially, we'll touch on Moulana's life story, how you got here, and what inspired you to pursue Islamic learning, etc., etc. I think we can start in the beginning. Was there that one spark that ignited Moulana's yearning to learn deeper Islamic knowledge? Was it always a thought?
To be honest, it was never a thought, you know. Just looking back, we're speaking about maybe late 80s, 90s, everything. So, alhamdulillah, through the efforts and the sacrifices of our seniors at those years, Sheikh Jamil and all them, they set up these masājids and madaris for us. And I think at that moment we thrived on it, you know, so there was a proper system set up for us. And I, alhamdulillah, was fortunate enough to have the experience from all these different madaris and madrasas that popped up at that moment. The likes of Haji Fati, the likes of Haji Brown, and then Sheikh Ibrahim came in there. And I took my little bit of education from all of them. Yeah. And then obviously you have your parents and your respected parents. My father, rahimahullah, he made sure that we are headed in that direction. So that was basically my progression and my spark introduction to Deen as such, you know. But no real outlook of, no, I wanted to be an imam, that type of thing.
So there was never a moment where you was, I want to do this.
No. I think because of, you know, that the solid Islamic foundation that they provided for us, it was sufficient for us to carry on, you know, in our culture and Islamic history and the things that we learned, you know. And if you look at it now, and how it benefited us to reach this moment. And then, obviously, when you finally got introduced to a Darul Ulum and stuff, and that is where the big bang happened.
I like to always ask ulama, what was the second option? Was there another option? So, you know, I'm either going to do this or I'm going to do that.
Yeah, so I had my eye on business management and that type of a thing, you know. But if I really looked back, I was always like a people pleaser type of thing. I had this love and yearn to help people. Not to say that I'm going to become an imam, but just that I loved helping people, assisting people, making people smile. So I always have this one memory of mine, like, my mother used to go out during the day, whatever it is, and when she would go out, I would clean the kitchen for her, without her saying. And when she came back and could see the smile on her face, that just triggered me, you know, so I just loved helping people. I want to say that's a calling for me, that was my passion, I love helping people. So if I look back, how I ended up here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically just chose me and redirected me, you know.
So we fast forward a little bit, and now we're going off to Darul Ulum to study. Difficult, those moments, challenging?
I actually loved it, you know. How I ended up there was, I wouldn't say fortunately, unfortunately, I lost my father at the age of 16. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him Jannah al-Firdaus. So a difficult time in your life, you're 16, you got your future ahead of you, you need guidance, you need direction. And I only had my mother at my disposal. And alhamdulillah, she did a fantastic job, you know, trying to raise us without a father. And what helped me was my friends. So we had the likes of Sheikh Ashraf Hajam, who was already in Matric, and then he ended up in Darul Ulum. So he would come back on holiday times, and I was still at school, so he would narrate to us what happened at Darul Ulum and this and that. And you know, my one passion is I love reading people. And I would scan people, probe them, the reactions, how they speak, what they're speaking, what they do, why do they do it, how they do it. And when he would come, he would speak about his experiences in Darul Ulum. It just caught my attention, you know. And then I found myself, look, yeah, I'm tired now. I think this is it for me. And then I ended up at Darul Ulum, you know.
So, motivation, discipline. We talk about students nowadays. Maybe the one who is doing studies at the moment, or they want to pursue studies. What does it take? A lot of discipline, a lot of motivation.
Yeah, discipline is always a big key. And for an individual that lacks discipline like myself, you're always going to need assistance.
Yeah.
So what really helped me, and this is what I'm passionate about. Yes, your madrasa years are there, your friends are there in madrasa, and they seem to carry you along, whatever it is, And so even in the realistic life, reality kicks in, you're always going to need people to assist you. And that's what helped me. So my friends, my circles that were around me, even when I entered into a formal education, Islamic education, my friends were very key in my progression. So we would have our study groups, they would carry me, sometimes I would carry them. But general advice, if you lack discipline, your circles are very important for you.
Interesting point that we tied with what Moulana mentioned earlier about the masjid, and how maybe before a lot of everything that happened in our lives revolved around the masjid.
Right.
Whatever it was. If you had a baby, you go fetch the imam.
Right.
If you're getting married, you go fetch the imam. Someone manual, you get the imam. And it was always that, you go to the imam and you have it sorted out. Would we say nowadays there's not that anymore? This segmented sort of look at the community?
I would say the demand and the exposure has basically increased. If you look at the times and the challenges of the times, the imam has to be equipped with so many different aspects, so many different skills at his disposal. So where it was just in those days name giving or whatever what might be, now it's got to do with counseling. Whether it got to do with drug addicts, whether it got to be with emotional trauma that one suffers, So we had no other choice but to upskill ourselves on how to handle an emotional person, how to handle a drug addict. So the challenges has become more and more demanding and because we are even at this moment, I'm sure everyone will agree, we have become an international community. So we have people from all across the world basically at your disposal. And different madhahib, different ethnicities, different backgrounds. So say our plates are full at the moment.
But interestingly enough, because we like to coin the phrase that Islam is a way of life. We like to say that. Say that all the time, we hear it all the time. It sounds very cute. But the things Moulana mentioned is part of life.
Of course,
addictions and struggles and emotions, and etc. etc. So we talk about the community. What are some of the opportunities that Moulana sees based on the location? This is a growing community. When you drive here, you just see it's either a house that's almost built, or one that was just built, or bricks waiting to be built.
Of course.
So this is a growing community. Any opportunities Moulana sees maybe for da'wah, for those kind of things?
So the demand for deen has become so rife. Everybody's looking for that one piece of success, one piece of solace, happiness. That is what everybody's craving for. And we as believers and as Muslims, we believe this is the place for it. There is so much work that can be done, and that is being done from our masājid. The opportunities are there. So many people are destitute, so many people are not by the means. Some people are by the means, but they just need to be redirected. We just need to harness their potential. Whether it's got to be where you have or you don't have, the opportunities are there. We just need people to come forward, present themselves, and we can work miracles if we just apply ourselves, But the masajids, our masjids, they provide the best platform for it.
Okay. We go back to the point of connecting yourselves with the right people. And Moulana mentioned, the study groups and the friends carrying you through your studies, etc., etc. How important is that? Not just for the younger ones, but I think for everybody.
Yeah.
The older ones, the senior ones.
Right, yeah.
We keep the same circles and we sort of do the same things. How important is that making connections and the right connections? How important is that in
Yeah.
today's day and age where
Look here, life is a learning curve. From the beginning till the end, you're always going to learn. And nobody can claim that they have the authority or complete authority or knowledge. Right? Quran says, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي إِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. There's always going to be someone smarter than you, cleverer than you. You got it? So while some people might have theoretical knowledge, they can open a book, they can tell you, but they don't have the experience of it again.
Yeah.
So we need to complement each other, right? We have seniors in our masājids. They've been through life. They've been through experiences in life. I might be young, and generally all scholars, when they finish, or immediately when they finish, they've got the zeal, they've got the passion, I'm going to come back, and this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to say, and this is how I'm going to reform this, my community. And eventually when they come and they set foot in the town and they think, hey, look at this, not exactly like how I planned and how I pictured. Simply, and just based on that simple principle, we have to learn from everybody. There's different types of knowledges that even the Quran speaks about, theoretical knowledge, even knowledge of experience, Musa and Khidr alayhi salam, how they taught each other. But everybody has a part to play. So sometimes we tend to want to take on the challenge ourselves. We're going to drown. This deen, people's problems are just way bigger than us. And we need to complement each other. Right? Some people, they thrive in academics. Some people thrive on action. Some people are very technical. But that is where we all need to come together and complement each other and live our lives like that.
And this international community that Mama touched on earlier, this is like the door to that community, right?
Yeah, it's a different challenge on its own.
This is a different challenge over there. So when I say connecting with people, I thought, most connections nowadays is actually with this.
Of course, yeah.
You know, so surely we should be careful with this as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Look here, it's a very important aspect you mentioned. Like, so we have what is called a takeaway deen. You know, you go to a takeaway, you fast, you pull off aside, you order here, 5 minutes, you're out in the drive-thru, you're out. So we tend to have the same drive-through approach to deen. Look, what's the masala here? What is the question? What is the answer? Can I get it in 2 minutes? That type of a thing. You know, so that's a challenge on its own. And then we have, we get individuals that, because of the device and you're so easily accessible, they say, Moulana, I've got this issue with my husband. Can I get a talaq?
Yes.
Can I want this? And I want this. So they expect me to give them a verdict. Okay, tell your husband he must give you a talaq over the phone, tell him this is what you must do. And that's become a different fitna on its own, you know. So as helpful as it can be, obviously there's abuse that comes with it, you know.
Fast forward, Moulana graduates, alhamdulillah, must have been a very proud moment.
Yeah, no, alhamdulillah. I think that my whole objective was not to actually get like a formal certificate, that type of thing. What really inspired me, or what my objective was, I wanted to change my life. And how you mentioned was, Islam is a way of life. I just did it for me. And like I mentioned before, I love scanning people. I love reading people and how people operate. So I had this craving for more. And that's how I ended up in Darul Ulum, and that is how I developed this national craving for actually to learn how to do things Islamically. And I think that is what gave me that nourishment with regards to.
There must have been I wouldn't say a crowning moment, but a moment where it came back to us, like, I'm so glad I did this. Or, you know, alhamdulillah, that I chose this path, or I chose. What are some of those moments that give you that feeling of?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Look, I was probably in the retail before this, before my job as an imam, and but I tell you honestly, I hated every moment of it. You know, there were just certain moments, and I thought, look, this. I studied. What am I doing here? That type of thing, you know. And then I used to cry at work, like literally, you know. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened this door for me. I ended up here, and I've been here, alhamdulillah, 15 years now. Right? So it's quite some time. And the experience that you gain from here, and actually with your influences, the experiences, different people that walks in your life, and just the experiences you gain from the life lessons that you learn from it. So one highlight of what I've actually learned of it as to be as an imam, and we look at the paragon of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how he impacted lives. Like he literally turned their lives around and impacted it in a positive way. So with many influences in my life and in my studies, my ustads and certain people and mentors, yeah. So we had to, or I have learned to harness resources around us, because we as Muslims and believers, as a Muslim society, we have plenty of resources. We don't lack anything. So it's first to identify a problem and make the community a source of upliftment. So this individual, he came from out of town, sleeping in his car for 2 or 3 days type of thing. We accommodated him, we set him up. Eventually, he ran a successful business, got married, had children, had the whole picket fence, that type of a thing, you know. And it all stemmed up from learning how to assist a person from the masjid, using the resources you have here, the experience you've gained here, the advices you've obtained from here, and to really impact an individual's life like this. So yes, learning to and just impacting people's lives in a positive way, it's the highlight, it's the best. Once you actually dive into that field, it's a different type of nourishment that you get, you know.
Well, I'm still stunned by the 15 years thing. That means there could have been a little boy or girl who came with their father who was maybe 5, 6 years old, and now 20.
Right, yes. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so someone was in the madrasa, he's having a baby.
Yeah.
Next step is now probably giving the baby's name, that type of thing, you know. So you see these
Those are fulfilling moments.
Of course, definitely, yes, you know. And I think what's more fulfilling is that we are not limited just to having a part of their life in madrasa or at the masjid. It extends beyond that. It's outside. We actually play a huge part in their roles in the business decisions that they are making, family decisions that they are making, and even more importantly, the spiritual decisions that they are making. You know, so a very holistic approach, you know, to helping and assisting people. So, alhamdulillah, it's been a fantastic journey, a real learning curve for me. Something that I've thrived on a lot, alhamdulillah.
Excellent. Well, it's been wonderful visiting and chatting and catching up with everything that is Masjid Salaam and Moulana Riyaad. Inshallah, we'll visit again.
Most welcome.
In the next 15 years or so.
Ameen.
Inshallah, we'll come chat again and find out what's been happening on the other side of the world. Hopefully, this becomes another stronghold of the Islamic society, APE. But I think as we branch off as Muslims, that should be our goal.
Of course, yes, yeah, right, of course. And you also, it's an open invitation. You're welcome to Masjid Salaam Overbaakens. We have a bar fridge for water, please.
There's a bar fridge with water. SubhanAllah. And I was asking, anyone take it? I said, yeah, anyone can take it. I said, okay.
Yeah, and we sort you out properly for the
I'll be back for water, inshallah. That was episode 2 of Al-Furqán Institute's podcast series, Voices of the Masjid. From these voices this week, we say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Barakallah.
Welcome back to the podcast series for Al-Furqán Institute, Voices of the Masjid. Before we had a chat to the Imam of the Masjid, and now we are being joined for our panel discussion, segment number 2. We were joined by Moulana Luqmaan Adams. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Moulana.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Excellent. We needed some wisdom, so we brought in someone else. But inshallah, we're going to be having a panel discussion, inshallah. And these are topics that we'll be discussing that affects us in Ramadan and even out of Ramadan, inshallah, to make us grow as Muslims and be better, inshallah. We can start with Moulana. When we look at the middle phase of Ramadan, we know in the beginning it's a bit different. Then in the middle is sort of maybe we could call it the quiet phase. But how do we sort of push on? What should we be focusing on the middle phase of Ramadan?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Brother Ihsan, basically in the middle phase, we should be focusing on our istiqamat. We should be intensifying our acts of worship. So in the beginning of Ramadan, we were getting into the swing of things, of our ibadat, and by now we are in the second phase of Ramadan. We should be, that istiqamah, that steadfastness, we should be practicing on that. We should be focusing on that. The spiritual side, the Quran, obviously, the acts of ibadah, the tilawat of the Quran. By now, the Tarawih Salah should actually be easy. If any one of us is still having difficulty in the Tarawih Salah, and we're not speaking about the valid excuses, obviously, the deen is very easy. But spiritually, emotionally, we should not have any obstacle attending the Tarawih Salah and our fast, inshallah.
Moulana, jump in here. When it comes to that steadfastness, that istiqamah that we spoke about, Moulana touched on, I think practically, what does that look like? What does that steadfastness look like practically? I think it's a goal in our minds. We're thinking of, we want to maintain that and want to. Practically, what does it look like? Does it look like making routines, maybe, or making habits?
Right, yeah. So after the first week or so, it takes a bit of an adjustment, like when you first physically start your Tarawih and you start in your fast. And with all the hype around the beginning of Ramadan, you seem to just go with the flow, and it's easy for us to do it. And then after the first week, we should have a routine, a schedule. We have adjusted, whether it be with regards to our diet, whether it's got to do with our acts of ibadat. We seem to have adjusted now. And then we find that Taraweeh is a bit shorter now. So at this moment, with all our adjustments made here and there, we should have been accustomed to things. So within this, the key within this middle period of Ramadan is to take it easy. We want to recuperate, or that type of thing, reserve our energy, basically for that last 10 days where itikaf actually kicks in. So that is where we actually want to push. So that is just the way I have looked at it over the years. Beginning, you start strong. It's like open a bottle of cool drink, the gas is full. Yeah. And then it fades away within the last period. But then in the last period, we open a new bottle, and then we kick it, and then we push in that last segment. So that's the whole mental challenge and that whole mental game and approach that we should have to the Ramadan. Start with vigor, with zeal, relax within that middle period, recuperate, recover, and then in that last segment, then we start pushing a bit.
Luqmaan, I think also we find ourselves in a place where every Muslim, personally, we're in a different level, I think. And when we talk of steadfastness and maintaining actions, etc., what might be easy for some might be a bit tricky for others. And in Ramadan, we seem to be all on a little bit of a higher level, alhamdulillah. But from where we're starting, it's all different. So maybe when it comes to this Ramadan or every Ramadan, if we are looking to make a change for our lives, not just Ramadan, what would Moulana's advice be for someone who's looking to make that change now, trying to take advantage of the time now to change their lives and to become better Muslims? What should they take from Ramadan, out of Ramadan, to become better? Because they don't necessarily fast after Ramadan. So maybe it's not fasting. What other sort of...
Yes, good question, Ihsan. I think what we need to realize as the individual, I have to look at myself. So I have to look at what I'm lacking in the different forms of ibadah which is performed in the month of Ramadan. Like you just alluded to now, many of us don't continue fasting. Obviously, the Mondays and Thursdays, some of us don't even fast the days of Shawwal, etc. But there are other acts of worship that we can still continue after the month of Ramadan. But for myself, what we always encourage our students and even adults is that like we are told, we always reminded Ramadan is that Iman booster. And this is a golden opportunity for us to increase our Iman in the various acts of worship. And connected to that, to your question, is that I should make an intention that, oh Allah, I want to better myself with the adhkar, tilawat of Quran, my nafal salah, etc. And take one of those and build on that. Like Moulana also mentioned now, we need to start off slowly. Like you also said, there's different levels of people with different levels of Iman. So sometimes we look at other people, which is good, because you will need to look at the Sahaba, etc., the pious predecessors, the ulama, etc., or ordinary people that is doing acts of worship. But I still have to look at what I can afford to do, what I'm capable of doing. So look what I'm capable of doing and build on that. And continue building on that. And again, it comes back to the istiqamat, to be steadfast with the niyyah, consistency. And oh Allah, I want to continue with that, inshallah, after the month of Ramadan.
Moulana, I want to add to that point.
Okay, so I wouldn't say I have maybe a different take on it, but if you look in the professional world, you have professionals, we have experts, and you get specialists in different fields. In the month of Ramadan, with the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we find that Islam is exposed in a totality. We've got sadaqah, charity is there, fasting is there, salah is there, tilawat Quran is there, dhikr is there. So every different avenue of deen is basically really exposed. You can choose which one you actually want to focus on. And we should have a benchmark with regards to our salah. 5 times a day salah in the masjid, that's the rock bottom, that's the basic we should all have. Fasting, morning till evening, Taraweeh salat, maybe full 20 raka'at. So those are the basics. But then we should actually zoom in. Every individual is different. Like we have some people that for them extra salah is not an issue. They actually thrive in it. They love it. And they focus on it. They zoom on it. They can make 36, 40, doesn't matter. They can spend the whole night in salah. And for the next person, again, it's a bit challenging for him to make salah, but he's full on the charity. He can give charity, he can assist in charity, but charity is his game. And then we have someone else who has a different recitation of Quran, tilawat of Quran. He can then sit all day and read Quran. So when it comes to especially in the month of Ramadan, we have our basic routine that we should do, and over and above, choose what really inspires you, what really captures you in the month of Ramadan, and then you go full out of it.
Makes sense. Let's zoom in a little bit. In Ramadan, we have specific times that out of Ramadan is different. We made the example of air. We said we all wake up now to eat for suhoor. And out of Ramadan, maybe it's difficult to wake up for Fajr. So we find ourselves awake at that time, when normally we might not be. When it comes to Maghrib time now, there's a bigger focus on, hey, it's Maghrib now, everybody's sitting, and we're all waiting, and etc., etc. Taraweeh has the same, the streets are empty after Isha because everybody's at Taraweeh. So there's specific times now where we find we're at a heightened sort of level of Iman, even the normal person. And there's opportunities now that is not necessarily, at other times. So Imam give us one nugget, one action that is maybe we can focus on this Ramadan at one of those times where, we might not out of Ramadan be available or be ready.
Are you referring to
any kind of small action, any ibadah, any small action that we can maybe thrive on?
That we will
take advantage
of after.
Inshallah, maybe start in Ramadan, and maybe look to continue after, inshallah.
Well, like Moulana mentioned, there's different branches of ibadah. The tilawat of Quran, the dhikr. So, obviously, Allah Ta'ala has made it very easy for us to practice on deen in the month of Ramadan because of the environment we're in. Everyone is fasting throughout the world. But I, as an individual, have to look at what I am capable of doing. So it comes back to what Moulana also mentioned, that if I feel dhikr is easy for me to make, then I should try to continue with that. There's so many forms of ibadat, Brother Ihsan, that one can do not only in Ramadan, outside the month of Ramadan. Yes, it is easy for us now to attend the Taraweeh Salah or even the Fard Salah because of that spirituality of the month of Ramadan. And therefore, like, what comes to mind, like we normally tell our students to have a study buddy. So, yes, so likewise, I really thinking now, how am I going to make now for Fajr Salah, example, after Ramadan. So why don't I phone a friend? Or the same friend that is coming around for me for Taraweeh Salah, let's come around him for Fajr Salah, Isha Salah, Maghrib Salah. His turn, he'll come 1 week, 1 day, I come the other day, Tilawat of Quran, it's a month of Quran, it's Shahrul Quran. So what am I going to do now? I was inspired when I came into the masjid, the Dhuhr Salah, everyone was reciting Quran in the masjid. And I fear that, I'm going to not recite as much Quran as possible again after Ramadan. So again, meet up with a friend, the same friend that comes for you for Taraweeh, or maybe a different friend for that matter. But the point is, be with someone that will inspire you. Inshallah, we all can inspire one another. So never look down on anyone, because that person can maybe be the person that can inspire you because of his act of ibadat, inshallah.
Moulana, any specific action that Moulana wants to add to that?
Yeah, so just to carry on the sentiments of Moulana Luqmaan, that's exactly what we need to do. In the month of Ramadan, if you look around, you'll find what we call the friends of Allah. You zoom into one individual, one personality that really inspires you. And not just in the month of Ramadan, but you'll see his habits outside of the month of Ramadan as well. What we need to do is we need to attach ourselves. If we really want to carry on the spirit of Ramadan beyond Ramadan, then we need to attach ourselves to the friends of Allah. And we are only as strong as our weakest link. We as a community on a whole, we need to carry these individuals after the month of Ramadan. So it's an obligation upon the masjids, on the groups, on the community, to make it easy, like how it's easy in Ramadan, simply because the community carries everybody. We need to carry on that spirit as a community, as a whole, as an ummah, so that we can, even the weakest one, we can carry them. So we need to attach ourselves also with the correct people, with those individuals that are going to inspire us. Get in touch with the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Last point from Moulana, maybe we can touch on some issues of, for example, mixing with the community and the balance between the ibadah that we do alone and the ibadah we do as a community in jama'ah. Maybe I can just finish off with that, inshallah, the balance maybe that we need to find.
The balance.
On the one hand, we have the public, the Taraweeh, etc., etc. And then what do we do for ourselves, maybe when we're alone, and the balance finding between those two, inshallah.
The balance is very challenging.
It's very challenging.
For some individuals to find that balance of ibadat, what I'm doing in the month of Ramadan, and what am I going to do outside the month of Ramadan. So we have to look at ourselves first and foremost. What am I doing currently and what do I want to do?
True.
Everything works with the intention. We have to set goals for ourselves. In order for me to find a balance, I first need to set a goal. And once I know what my goal is, what I want to achieve, that will assist me in performing that ibadat and having a balance. The balance can also refer to that I don't overexert myself. And then after a few days, as the hadith mentions, that the most beloved of actions is those actions which is continuous, even though it be a little. So this is something we need to remind ourselves, because it's normal for insan that he wants to start, he feels fresh, he feels strong, at that, he's at a high. and he wants to do a certain action, and then he exerts himself for a few days, but not realizing that there might be a possibility that he will slip along the way and not continue that action. So to strike that balance in life, not only in Ramadan, is very important. And one has to know oneself. You know, I think everyone, although some people will say, I know you better than yourself, but ultimately you know yourself, what you are capable of. You know, sometimes we look at certain people and what they perform in, or certain acts of ibadat, or even dunya matters, and you tell yourself, hey, I can't do that. That's not my cup of tea. So as you know yourself, you should know what acts of worship you are capable and how much of that act ibadat you can perform. And once we get to a level, again, of istiqamat in that act of worship, I can now proceed to increase in that act of worship, inshallah. I hope that answers your question.
That's perfect. Want to add to that?
Yeah.
We have about 1-2 minutes.
I don't actually have much to say on this point, but just to highlight a very important aspect with regards to how we live our lives, because the way we live our lives today is all about individualism. All right, me, myself, and I type of thing, and me and my family. So we tend to isolate ourselves basically in today's life. But Islam doesn't teach us that. Islam teaches, no, you have your own individual, your private ibadah, and then you have your communal obligations, your community obligations. So if you look at Jamaat Salah is there for the men so that everybody comes together. So you have your community obligations. And then you have your Tahajjud Salah. Tahajjud Salah is your personal connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should stop living our lives that, look, I just have to see to myself. We have to start prepping our mind. Yes, I've got my own individual obligations, my own preference ibadah that I want to do, but also I have an obligation to my neighbor. I have an obligation to my friends at the masjid as a community level. So we should try and stipulate time for my personal own ibadat and for community ibadat. We should uplift not only ourselves, but our communities as well.
We say shukran jazakallah khair to Moulana Luqmaan and for Moulana Riyaad, especially for hosting us here at Masjid Salaam, Overbaakens. And it's been a wonderful discussion, and hopefully we can implement some of what is given to us, and we can grow.
Ameen.
And next year Ramadan, inshallah, we'll sit here again with more advices from the ulama. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Connect that.